means truth. So tell me about your spiritual journey.
Tattva Tuesday. This is Lindsay Warwick, the conduit on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So excited for my guest today. I have Nancy Weiss here. She is a lot of things. She is an intuitive energy healer, coach, tarot oracle card creatrix, all the things. We were just giggling about this idea of titles. So anyways, I'm so happy that you're here. Like, I adore you. So let's I guess if you just want to talk a little bit about your spiritual journey, that'd be great. We'll just start there.
Do you have 8 hours?
Yes.
My spiritual journey. So I'll go with, I guess, the lifelong spiritual journey, kind of what has happened in my life. But thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to chat with you today. So my spiritual journey started, I would say, around 8 years old. That's always, everything goes back to 8 years old for me. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to realize my psychic abilities. That's when I started to recognize spirit, where I was like, I feel a little girl. I feel these things around me. And I got hooked. Like, as soon as I started realizing that this was a thing, I got hooked. And as growing up, like 8, 9, 10, 11, I would go to the library and I would type in psychic and I would type in ESP. So when I was a little girl, ESP was like this big thing. And I bought this book, my favoriteest book ever. It's called David St. Clair's Lessons in ESP. And this book outlined, like, basically when it came down to it, psychic, manifestation, astral travel, all these things, and how to do these things, which probably back then seemed like a joke, but it was real, right? It's real. We know it's real. And so I started really young doing that. I even brought it to the classroom where, we had to do like a show and tell, and I had like a deck of cards, and I'd be like, hold up a card and I'll tell you what it is. And I remember at one point getting 3 in a row and the whole class going, like, they couldn't believe it.
I love it.
I don't know if that was like 5th grade, 6th grade, but that was obviously getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
Then I really started, so I started tapping into children, the spirit of children and babies. And that really started coming when I was like 16, 17. It started coming more where I knew that somebody was pregnant, but I didn't even know the person. So I would be like, I didn't know they had a sister, but I'd be like, oh, is your sister pregnant? And they'd be like, no. And then I have a good story about that, but stuff like that. I also had no filter at 17. Like, you don't learn about like mediumship usually when you're 17. And so I remember going into a boyfriend's house for the first time and visiting his mom. And we're going up the stairs. And all of a sudden I feel whoosh. I feel this whoosh going right through my body. And I get upstairs. I was like, whoa, what was that? And I get upstairs, and again, remember, no filter. And I asked his mom, who I've never met before, did you have a miscarriage of a little girl? And I kind of blew everyone's mind. And she was like, yes. And I was like, well, she's here. And she just like went through my body. She's here and around you. And again, this was I didn't really have like, I shouldn't have said that, obviously. but that started really young. So it started really young with that kind of stuff and just knowing these things about people and situations. And I knew who was calling on the phone, and I knew, all these odd, things that nobody knew about. Not only who was calling on the phone, but what they were calling about in a stranger's home. So I just kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of into that, right? I got tarot cards as a young girl, crystals I fell in love with. And then things kind of went dormant, I would say from like 17 to like 30 years old. Like 15 years of, I don't know what, of like maybe dating and partying and having a good time.
Uh-huh.
I'm not here like trying to be psychic or do any of that stuff.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was in my 30s, I guess, that I was in a really bad relationship, really bad, 7 years. And it was, I would say it's kind of borderline abusive, like psychologically, emotionally abusive and stuff like that. And questioning who I was. And I was like, I'm a good girl. Like, why can't I find this person? Like, why? Everyone tells me, my mom, they're like, you're such a good woman, whatever, like you have so many great qualities. And I kind of just like got down on my knees one day. I was like, God, I don't know what, like, I don't know what to do anymore, and that somehow ignited me, like watching The Secret for the first time and learning about the law of attraction. And it changed everything for me. Like it changed everything. Like I was able to get away from that person. I manifested my husband, like all these things. And during that time too, I became a Reiki master. Like I started picking back up all these parts of me. I got my old books out and was just like, okay, this is me. Like, this is who I am. And it kind of just went from there. Like a few years after meeting my husband, I went to school to become a holistic health coach because I always loved, natural living and stuff like that. So I was like, I want to do that. And then we were working on conceiving, but having a lot of trouble. And somehow I went from becoming this holistic health coach that would just like help anybody to then becoming a fertility coach. Okay, that makes sense, right? Fertility coach. And then from there, I was talking about exercise and eating broccoli and mindset and all this stuff, right? But I wasn't telling anybody, I wasn't telling my audience the stuff I was personally doing, that I was working with crystals, that I was doing Reiki, that I was talking to my spirit baby before they even got here, before I was even, pregnant. So I kind of let all of that out and was like, I got to come out of the broom closet and tell them what I'm doing. And so I became a spiritual fertility coach. And then I really, during my energy healings, which is not just Reiki, I don't really call it Reiki anymore because it's different what I do. Yeah, it's different. But all the psychic information just flooded in, and then the mediumship. And so I became a spirit baby communicator. And that's what I was kind of known for the last 6 years. So that's it. And then, I got diagnosed with cancer in September 2021. And I said, I'm taking a year off of my business. Like I was working myself like crazy. Like I was fully booked. I had a 2-month wait list. And that's part of where these came into my cards that you want to talk about. But I was just like this burnt out energy healer. I was a mom of 2 kids, doing all these sessions that I didn't think was a lot, but really was a lot.
Yes.
And for me, especially for me, everyone is different. I know there's some people that could do 20 sessions a week. That turns out that that's not me.
Ooh.
I can't do that. I can't do
that either.
No. So
sessions,
I was so burnt out. I had no spiritual hygiene at all at that point when I was like telling all my clients, do this, do that, make sure you're meditating, make sure you're doing your thing every day, make sure you're grounding yourself. In the meantime, I'm not doing it. I'll do it quick right before a client and be like, Oh my God, heal me, see my grandma, shame me. Oh, I'm like a tree. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. So you
But
burnt out.
oh my God, so burnt out. And so my year off with cancer was really returning to myself, returning to my self-care, my spirituality, deeper into my spirituality, and just realigning myself, balancing myself out again. And yeah, and here I am. I've been in the like kind of like seaweed lately, the last year of like, what am I gonna do? Who am I? You know, trying to figure these things out. I've birthed a lot of things, like 2 oracle decks, which was huge. So, and
Yeah.
you're in one of them.
Yes.
So that's my spiritual journey.
I love it. So many things. So let's start at the beginning. ESP
Yeah.
means extrasensory perception.
Yes.
It
Yes.
means part of our actual senses as a multidimensional human being, spirit
Right.
being, having a meat sack human
Yep.
experience.
Yep.
And I love that you brought that to your show and tell.
Yeah. It's right here.
And I was going to ask when you got your old books out, I was going to say, where's that book?
Yeah. Instant ESP.
I want it. I want to read that. I love that so much.
So psychic healing, psychometry, which I've done. That's when you hold on to some an object and you give someone feedback. Astral travel, regression into past lives, casting a spell to get anything you desire, aka manifestation, and a whole new world of psychic powers. I suck this. Forget about it. It's amazing. This book is amazing.
Love that. And I just thank you for sharing your spiritual journey in a condensed version, but I got a clear picture of it. And what a beautiful journey you've been on. And I love how you said you would feel things at a young age and you knew things at a young age and you would just say it. I kind of like, I respect you in a way, because for a long time I felt very afraid to say, like, I would say, like, I can't say that. And then finally, like, my team pushed me. They're like, you do need to say these things. And then it started making sense for other people. I also like how you said that you developed your own technique. Like, it was Reiki and Reiki was your foundation. And now you've used your own, like, Nancy unique aspects to create a method of healing, which is kind of, I resonate with that, because that's kind of what happened to me too. Like, Reiki was the opening and the foundation, and then it's kind of blossomed from there, and that's how the mediumship and everything came online. So I also identify with not that I have been diagnosed with cancer, but I feel like when spirit wants my attention, this might be a Capricorn thing, because I know you're a Capricorn like me. I will not slow down unless I'm sick. Like, I have a hard time taking rest. So it's not, like when you were talking about the burnout, and I just saw like one of those like movie screens, like in fast forward motion, like you. That's what you were doing. And so it's interesting how then you were diagnosed with cancer, which forced you to slow down and really pour all that into yourself. So, and what a terrifying, right? And beautiful, but also like in a effed up way, like a beautiful way to reconnect with source.
Yeah, I always said cancer was a gift, which people are like, well, like I was never an F cancer and this. I never did that. Everything was healing to me. I was like, okay, this is healing. What do I need to heal? You know? And I credit my really fast recovery.
Yeah.
And getting through like 6 rounds of chemo, a double mastectomy, 30 rounds of radiation, and a year of infusions. If you look back at my pictures, you won't know. Aside from my wig, you really wouldn't know, you know?
Wow.
But it was all about, okay, how can I bring that healing into it was like, let me use everything I got. Mirror work, inner child work. You know, like I use it all. I use the angels. I used everything. When I would get my radiation, you know, I would imagine that it was Archangel Raphael sending in the healing like waves into my body.
Yeah.
Why am I going to sit there and go, oh my God, look at the poison they're putting into me? No, even my chemotherapy would drip and I would be like, oh my goodness, this is medicine from the angels. Like, this shit changes how everything turns out for you. It really does.
Yeah, the mindset and the spell casting, the speech.
Yeah.
I love that you are sharing this. The message I've received lately in meditation has been that this, what we do, has to be in the medical field. And I actually like had the pleasure of meeting a kidney doctor, and there's some medical term that he is. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Nephrologist.
That. So I was talking to him on Saturday and I was telling him about like frequency healing and all this. And he was saying that the mindset of the patients have drastic like recovery times. And the people that aren't loved on or visited, they go down faster. The people that are in a positive headspace, they have this love and nourishment and support, heal. And it's real. And you are living proof of that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. My tumor is crazy. I don't want to talk too much about it, but my tumor was really large. It was 7 by 9 centimeters. It took up like my whole, like half of my breast, which most people like, you would think you would feel it, but I had these gigantic boobs. So nobody knew.
Right.
I didn't even know. But, by round 2 of my chemotherapy, and I was doing healing on myself every day, you couldn't feel the tumor anymore. And I'm not crediting it. I don't credit it to the chemotherapy. I would tell the doctor, I was like, well, I was like, yeah, it's working. I said, but the stuff I'm doing is what's really working. Because it like shrunk down. It was incredible. It was incredible. I had a double mistake.
Did the doctors even qualify that, your statement of how quickly?
Well, they would just be like, oh yeah, that's, how they are. But like March 22nd, I had my double mastectomy. July 4th, I was boxing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you said diagnosis in 2021. I'm like, shit, it's only 2023. And like,
I know, yeah.
I watched you do.
Yeah, yeah. I just made it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, thank you we will move on from that, but thank you so much for sharing that and just speaking to the power of us as healers of ourselves, because we are the ones that we are the ones to heal ourselves. So it's so beautiful and so empowering. Now, I also want to talk about the spirit baby. I want to talk about the spirit babies. Okay. I have told my story on the podcast, but I did let go of pregnancy earlier this year. I know you know that, but I have communed with her soul. So I have heard her voice and this, and when you said spirit baby, that's immediately what I thought of. I guess that's it, right? Like you want to talk about that. And you said you had an amazing story about that.
Yes.
Share, please.
Well, okay, yeah. It was, that other story was the first time that it happened where it's just a silly, not silly story, but it was the first time that I was like, Nancy, this is real. Like, you're real. So I was meeting my dad's girlfriend for the first time. Literally, I get in the car. They pick me up to go to Thanksgiving at her sister's house. She has 4 sisters. We go. I don't know her. I just know her name is Debbie. I'm in the car, right? And here's Nancy again. And I go, oh, your sister, is she pregnant? And she was like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, and they were also like, how the hell do you even know? Like, why is this a thing? We go to Thanksgiving, we take our trip to Long Island. We're sitting there at dinner. The phone rings. One of the sisters picks up and screams and comes into the dining room and she goes, oh my God, Leslie's pregnant. And that's their other sister. And I was like, oh my God. And I was just like, Dad, like, does anybody see what's happening right now? And that was like, I think the first time that that was just so, it was so far removed too.
Yeah,
You know?
that's amazing. That's
And that was
really
like
incredible.
that was like 16, 17 years old. And then what I was doing when I was working to get pregnant, we went through a lot, Chris and I were 40 at that point. We were trying, even before we got married, nothing was happening. I went through 7 rounds of IVF, egg extractions, and 4 IVFs, and nothing was working. Our stuff wasn't working. And so I had no idea how I was getting pregnant. I had no idea, is it going to happen naturally? Will one of these things work? Will I have to adopt? And that's when I just started connecting. I said, I'm going to connect with my own spirit baby. And for a while it was quiet, and, I didn't hear anything, but I kept at it every day. And that's when I started to feel her. I started to feel Luna. And then she would start sending me messages like in real life. I would hear her talk. She's like, my middle name is Grace. And I see her little hands on her hips and everything. And I'm like, okay. And she had blondish hair. And I'm like, wait, why does she have blonde hair? Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
It was just so, and then I just kept doing that, and I kept connecting. And then, that was part of my manifestation too, of her and making it happen. And we actually had our children, our 2 girls, through embryo adoption. And that is when you have a couple that has done IVF, say they get 5 embryos. They have 3 children, right? And they're like, okay, I'm done. But now we have 2 embryos left. What do? We discard them, we donate to science, or we donate them. And Chris and I were lucky enough to have donated embryos. So I got to be pregnant and do all those things.
Wow.
They're just like genetically connected to us. And Luna has blonde hair, and so does Ayla. And it just like
that's amazing. I didn't know that about you or your children.
Yes. And Luna, actually, what's really cool with them is Luna was frozen for 13 years, and Ayla was frozen for 15 years before they were transferred to me.
Oh my gosh. So they're
they're just
not good at numbers or math, but I'm like, so what year was that?
Yeah, right. So they're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So Luna's kind of 18 years old. And I guess Ayla would be 2 years less that, 16 years old, I guess, if you kind of think about that from the day of their conception to today. But just talk about like manifesting and stuff like that.
That's literally amazing.
Chris,
I'm like blown. I didn't even
know.
I don't know a lot about that.
Yeah. Chris and I were in New Jersey, and we were both living there without a problem. He was working, for Verizon. I had my full-time job, and we just to randomly decide to move to Georgia. Like, why? Right? Like, why am I moving to Georgia? And we moved to Georgia. We were like, yeah, let's do it. The houses are less expensive. Verizon has an office there. We don't know a single soul, but we go there. And that's where my babies, oh God, my babies were sitting in a hospital for 13 years.
Oh my God.
Waiting for us.
That's amazing.
That's why we moved to Georgia.
So are they genetically sisters?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm
like,
that's amazing. I really didn't know that. That is incredible.
Yeah. So it was just wild. I did have a miscarriage at one point with one of our things, which is not funny, but that would be 6 years ago that I had the miscarriage, or 7 years ago. I can't remember the dates because Luna's going to be 6 soon. And what's interesting is that I recently had a mediumship reading for somebody else, and she felt a boy that was 6 years old that was like prior to Luna.
Aww.
And so they're always around us. Spirit babies are always around us. Some of them, I still have a boy around me, but he wasn't meant to come through, and so we have these shows. Some will come through again. You'll have 2 or 3 souls around you that one of them chooses to come in, or 2. Some appear and then some disappear. And I had my boy right before, when I was pregnant with Ayla, it was the boy spirit constantly there. And Chris, my even husband, is not spiritual, but he was like, yes, boy, boy, boy. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and I felt, he's gone. He's completely gone. That next night, Chris told me that he had a dream that we had a girl. And I was like, he's not the spiritual guy. But he goes, I don't feel like there's a boy anymore. And I was like, I didn't tell you this, but that boy left yesterday.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
and Ayla took place, you know? So there's so much on the other side. I see, like, I was able to see children. I can see children that have passed on. Some of them are grown up on the other side. Spirit babies, you will show themselves to the ones that want to come in. They can show themselves at 2 or 3 years old. So you actually could see them and be like, oh, this is what they look like. You could see their personality. I could see what they look like. Some were as little pinpoints of light, like the beginning of time, where all I felt was this point of light, this creation. And there would be that too. So I felt that this gamut of, I don't even know what to call it, levels, or, you know, of what spirit baby is and what it means, and how they choose to come in and how they choose to just hang out or just be with you, kind of like a guardian angel. It is so interesting. It's so interesting.
I feel comfortable enough that we're talking about this to share a little bit about my experience. I've had 2 pregnancies, one when I was 21, and I did not feel capable of being a mother then. So I did not have the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult. I know it was a boy. And I really do believe that his soul is the soul of my dog right now. And then earlier this year, I had a pregnancy, but my partner was not a healthy partner. I didn't feel that I would have the experience, a help. I just felt that I just couldn't. And I sat with it for a while and communicated. I knew it was a girl, because when I was 30, I had a prophecy that when I was 35, I would be pregnant with a girl that would break the cycle of abuse in my family.
Wow.
So I turned 35 January 8th, and then I found out I was pregnant about a week later. Or no, I conceived a week later. I did not know I was pregnant, I'm sorry, until February. And at that point, my relationship was over as far as I knew it. I was leaving, and then I found out, and then I sat with it, and this was someone who can't show up. And so I made a very difficult choice and decided not to have her, which the whole experience really woke me up to a new existence. And I have communed with her. I've been told by another medium that she was my best friend in a past life, and she kind of came in this life and was like, what are you doing? And that I've also been told that she will come back in another form. And I really struggled with it, Nancy, because I've always wanted to be a mother. I can really see children, or earth side, you have this gift of seeing them on the other side as well. Sometimes I can. It depends on if that's what's best for my client, but I don't just have that in the way that you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have struggled with that all year, communing with her. I gave her a name. I've had ceremony with her. And just this idea of, I'm going to be 36 soon. And it's like, am I going to be a mother? I would love to be. I've had to kind of give it up to God. And so I don't know. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. I think so. One thing I appreciate you sharing. I know
and you have this amazing gift. I'm like, I wasn't even aware that you had that gift. And
oh my goodness.
I'm like running aware. I'm like, do you see them?
Yeah. Here's the thing that I want you and anyone else to know that has been in this situation. is that spirit babies, I want to say they don't care, but they aren't ever saying like, how could you do this to me? Or why did you do this to me? They never say anything like that. They just have like this, they're like, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm here, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose to come in through her, or I'm going to choose to come in a different way. I'm going to choose a harder life. I'm going to choose an easier life. But there's a neutral feeling. They are neutral about these things. Just like our loved ones on the other side, you know, if your mom has passed or your dad has passed and you had a bad relationship, they're not on the other side going, I wish she would have still done that. No.
Right. It's
love.
all love, because that's what
It's
we
all
are.
love.
That's what we go back to. And I tried to
It's
have
pure
this
love.
conversation with someone yesterday. Relationship struggles, the hardest ones that we have, are on the other side of things. To me, it's like the highest form of love. Like the worst relationships have taught me the most.
Mhm.
The one in the beginning of this year where I said no more and I walked away and I chose myself. And I feel like I don't want to cry. Ugh. The pregnancy, the soul of my daughter forced me to choose myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like her spirit will always be with me.
Yes.
I just I just struggle with like my age and becoming a biological mother, and then also hearing like beautiful women that have struggled with fertility. I have immense compassion for that as well. So it's a hard topic. It's a sensitive topic. I think it is one that should be talked about a little bit more. There was even some fear about sharing my experience, but I know that maybe there's someone else listening that needs to hear
Definitely.
it.
Yes. And just so you know, so I didn't meet my husband until I was 39.
I know, and that's another thing. Your story, I've even messaged you. Oh my God, your story. It's been a hard year for me, very hard year for me, and you sharing your story about you were in an abusive relationship, you got out of it, you manifested your husband and your children and this beautiful life at an older age, or fuck age anyway, but you know what I mean. And I messaged you. I'm like, you inspire me.
Thank you.
Like just reading that in times of darkness this year, like literally your pinhole, it was like a pinhole. I was like, listen, I battled with my choice all year. Did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
It's still hard. And now like I know that you do this, I like want to do it with you personally off the air. Would think that would be really beautiful. But yeah, it's your story is very inspiring. I love it. I mean, I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm not too old. Like,
no, as I said,
fine.
I had nobody. And I was like, again, this good girl, you know what I mean? With this great job. And like, but I just kept manifesting. I just kept, every day I would think about my husband, and I think even about his dog, and I would talk to my dog, and I would be like, Molly.
I thought you had dog too.
Okay. I was like, one day he's going to be on the couch with his big dog, and we're all going to be here, the four of us as a family together. And boom, here I go, and I meet the man who is a big giant dog. I have this little dog. And I had my first baby at 42 and my second baby at 45. Now, granted, that's a little, that's a lot, but it can happen. And I got to be pregnant myself. So the dream is there. You know what I mean? It's just got to keep focused on those things, and that you don't know how it's going to happen. I didn't know. I took the actions to meet Chris. I was on Match.com, but did I know if I was really going to meet him there? I didn't know. You know what I mean? Did I know how I was going to have my babies? No, I thought my husband is adopted from birth. I thought maybe we would adopt, that we would. I didn't know, but I just kept the faith with those things,
Sometimes trusting without the needing to know is huge. It's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
That is the key to manifestation to me.
Yes.
It's like, listen, I have this focus. This is what I want, and I don't need to know how it's going to work out.
No.
I just need to take the required action that spirit
Yes.
shows me.
Right.
I love that so much. And
Yeah.
oh my God, we've been chatting away. I love going. I do want to touch upon, and thank you so much for sharing all of that and allowing me the space to share that as well. Thank you so much. I do want you to talk about the oracle decks that you've created, because I feel like we're almost up on an hour, and I would love to pull a card from each deck, or it has you pull a card from each deck.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So the Key to Life deck is my self-care deck. And I called it Self-Care Beyond the Bubble Bath, because we always people like, what do you do for self-care? I get a pedicure. And you're like, no, that is not self-care.
Right.
Yes, it's good. But self-care goes deeper into that. Self-care goes into how are you taking care of yourself on a daily basis? Are you speaking up for yourself? Or do you have boundaries? Are you connecting with the cycles of the earth? Let me look at as a positive beliefs. Are you celebrating the big and small things? Are you riding the waves of your emotions? I mean, there's 44 cards here that I channeled in the morning when I woke up one morning, August, it was a year after my diagnosis, and I woke up doing my meditation and I hear, well, you should make an oracle deck. I don't know why he talked like that. And I was like, make a
Sounds like Archangel Michael.
I looked up like this. I was like, make an oracle deck. What are you talking about?
Sounds like Archangel Michael.
Like, I don't do that.
Now
and then,
still.
yeah. And I get to gymnastics, right? My kid in gymnastics, I sit in my car and, you know, listen to whatever, and I write 44 cards. I write 44 cards in 45 minutes. And I'm like, boom, 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 done. And that was it. So let's pull one here.
Pull one for us.
Okay. All right.
For whoever's listening, whenever they listen to it, because I feel like these things can transcend time and space.
Yeah. All right. What do you need to do for your self-care today? Hold on. I'm working on limited space here on the corner of my desk. All right. This is the music card.
Love it.
The music card says, I put on my favorite music and I become one with the rhythm. It's not just about music, but I think it's really more about connecting with the body, especially for me, because I feel like as you get older, you kind of move and dance less. Like, I used to be really feminine and sexy in the club, moving and doing my thing. Then you get older and then like you don't really do that anymore.
Club in Jersey, New York.
Oh, in New York.
I know.
So I think that's a wonderful reminder to really get in touch with your body, to move, to feel that rhythm, that natural, like that heartbeat, that flow that we don't really usually get to do. I don't know how many people are dancing. I just got this. I probably should go like get my groove on or something. So while I'm washing the dishes or cooking or something like that, put YouTube on, put some music on, and just like let it flow.
Yeah. Thank you. And then the other deck that you've created, let's talk about that. And then I have my copy here, or if you have yours right there.
I don't have, no, I do. I have it. I have it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Wisdom of Women Goddess deck was my creation after I saw all these, which is a controversial AI photos on Lensa, but I just was gaga over these pictures of all these women in my beautiful community, like you and all these women, and then looking at myself in these angelic, spiritual goddess pictures that just blew my mind. And I sat there and I said, this is how I see everyone. You know, like I look at Leah and I would think about, like, I think about her like in these pictures, or I'd see like this inner warrior, this inner goddess. And I was like, this needs to be a deck, I think. And I reached out to all these women and it was a labor of love.
It was a labor.
Oh God, I wanted to get rid of it at some points. I was like, I'm done with this thing. But I kept going. I would take a break, you know, take a month off and take a break. But we created this beautiful deck. Every woman has their own card. She supplied her own picture of how she felt the best, what really embodied her and her message. And We actually have a book with it too, again, and you're in it, as this psychic conduit.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So let's pull a card from there.
Yeah.
So I was sitting getting my hair cut the other day by Jess Hudson, who I love so much. She's in our Myrtle Beach community. And she actually has the deck in her salon, and she pulls a card every day and puts it up on her thing. And so I'm sitting there, I'm getting my hair bleached and everything. And we're like, oh, pick a card. She's like, how funny would it be if you picked your own card? And boom,
did you?
I picked my own card. I'm like, oh my God.
I have not picked my own card yet.
No. So we got the Dive Within.
So beautiful.
No.
Nikki.
Yes, Dive Within from Nikki Schaefer. And it says, you are a miracle. You are a divine embodiment of source. You are powerful. You are capable. You are beauty. You are truth. You are love. Your power is beyond comprehension. If this card found you today, you are being called to dive within, to take a deep breath and dive below the surface, deep into your core, and be reminded of your endless wonder. Curiously uncover your own buried treasure, only found in the depths of your soul. Your life experience has created you, all of it for you, never against you. Remember who you are. All of the answers lie within you. Summon your power, live from within. And the affirmation of this card is, I have all the answers within me. And the journal prompt is, in what ways can I be more present and kind with myself? How can I show up for me? This is the deepest deck you're ever going to find of, I'm telling you, of
my
any
clients
deck.
love it.
It's like, I read these things, I'm like, I can't even comprehend this right now. Like, this is too much for me.
It's so deep. My clients love it. And then I do get a lot of interest. People want to buy it. So I don't know. I
know. It's just such,
it's so special,
I'm
magical.
still working on it. It's just, I'm not being called to produce it yet and do what it really is a very big project, a very expensive project. And so I'm waiting for that real moment to come where I'm like, okay, Nancy, it's time to really expand on this,
and you'll know. And if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. It is what it is. I do want to just show my card really quickly, just because I've never done that on the podcast. There I am. My little aliens.
Like, these pictures are just like how I see us when we are when we are in our magic. Like, that's how I see us. Mine doesn't look like, mine's like a punk rocker.
Yours is so fun. I love it. It was
hard to pick. I was like, do I want to pick the goddessy one? But I chose to pick like what I look like now, which is
show yours,
which is very different of how I looked before. So
these are very deep and very powerful and just so amazing because it's women from our community. Yeah.
I asked Jessie, and I was like, can we do my hair like this?
What'd she say?
She's like, well, yeah. I was like, maybe not. I'm okay. Too much.
Well, thank you so much for making the time today to connect. And thank you so much to people watching this or listening. If you want to connect with Nancy, how can people connect?
So the best is, well, you have two places. You have Instagram, which is at Unlock Your Abundance. I am a energy healer for other energy healers and getting them to trust their gifts, up level in their business, and really create the wealth that they are looking for in their business, and just really trusting and expanding their gifts, getting through that imposter syndrome, which can really keep us stuck and not doing the work that we're supposed to be doing. So at Unlock Your Abundance on Instagram. And then I have a Facebook group, which is also Unlock Your Abundance. I don't know if that's the actual name of it, the title of it in the Facebook thing, but it is Unlock Your Abundance. So I'm in there too. I do card pulls and coaching and stuff like that. So yeah, connect me there.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share?
No, I'm good. I think I talked a lot. Probably too much.
No, I'm here.
Before we were like, how long should this episode be?
And now it's like an hour, which is fine.
Exactly.
I thought it flowed beautifully.
It was awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much again, Nancy. And
you.
thank you, everyone. I'm wishing you a beautiful and blessed week. And if you are interested in telling your story on the podcast, please reach out. Have a beautiful day.
Tattva is a Sanskrit word that means truth. So tell me about your spiritual journey.